Carol, I swear we did have rallies when you were gone. You wouldn't know it, though, by looking at the market today.
What are you saying? I came back and I dragged down the market? No, it's kind of wild because I'm looking at what the Mag 7, all of them are down about 2.5%. So it really does feel like some malaise back in the market. But I will believe you that there were rallies.
Yeah, we had, well, even though the Mag 7 kind of sat out yesterday's rally. So that's what was pretty remarkable. It was a pretty broad-based rally yesterday, but we saw some of the mega cap tech names not actually take part.
Not actually take part, and in fact, you have Meta now losing ground as well. So all the Mag 7 names are negative for 2025. I guess it wasn't that surprising in the end when Bank of America said that in its latest survey, investors have cut their holdings of U.S. stocks by the most on record. A big, big sea change.
Yeah, exactly. And the question is, does that continue, right? And what else does it entail? Does that mean we're going to sell treasuries? Are we also going to sell U.S. credit? Does that actually go elsewhere in the European market?
I'm going to head to Europe. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Are they going to like you there? I don't think they're going to like us anymore. I don't know if they like us very much.
This is a deep tease, but there's a new Air France cabin that you can fly, Carol. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
We are going to talk about
that. Okay. Well, I like that. That sounds nice and fancy. But you're taking a look here we're right near the closing bells here. S&P seems to be trading near the lows of the session, guys. The S&P around 1% lower. The NASDAQ off by 1.7%. So a little bit of steam to the downside as we head into the close. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 0.6%. But I've been saying this all day, guys. It's really been tech-driven because you take a look at the equal-weighted index, for example. You take a look at small caps. Yes, they're still lower, but nowhere near what we're seeing within the tech sector. You have the equal-weighted index just off by 0.5%. Yeah,
really interesting in terms of perspective and context of what's really going on internally within the music and within the markets music. What am I hearing? Hey, the S&P 500, Scarlett, you do have, though, a majority of names lower in today's session, 338, losing some ground on this Tuesday. 161, though, did actually show up with some gains here.
Yeah, and take a look at the IMAP because there are two sectors that are in the green. Energy up about 0.25%, and healthcare gaining 0.1%. But as you mentioned, tech is really the laggard here, and whether it's communication services, which includes the internet service providers, along with Alphabet, consumer discretionary, which includes Tesla, or tech overall, which has Nvidia. Those groups are all down at least 1.5%.
All right, guys, let's get to some of the individual gainers. Atop my list is Intel, which is among your top gainers in both the S&P and the NASDAQ 100, or at least was earlier in the session. A gain of earlier in the day about 2.8%, finishing the day with about a 1% gain. Stock really rallied nearly 7% yesterday. It's been up 5 sessions in a row, so it's up just around 30% over that time period. Our team noting that ahead of today, taking on his new role as CEO, Liputan sent a letter to employees warning that it won't be easy for the company to hold off the forces that have set it into decline. Yesterday's Reuters saying that the CEO potentially plans to cut back on middle management. So we're keeping an eye on this one, but definitely a little bit higher in today's session. BYD, had to mention, at its highs up about 3.3%, closing with a gain of 2.6%. The ADRs in the United States. The Chinese automaker unveiled a lineup of electric vehicles that it says can charge almost as fast as it takes to refuel a regular car. So that's pretty impressive. And then Lucid Group, I know it's just about a $2 stock here, but still up almost 9%, up almost 16%, or more than 16% intraday. So really rallied earlier, but up about 9% here at the close. The EV maker upgraded to equal weight from underweight over at Morgan Stanley, which says it sees potential for the stock to re-rate with new leadership that can put forward an executable AI strategy through partnerships. So some analyst lingo there. Price target, though, unchanged at $3. Keep in mind, it's down about 19% year to date and down about 96% from its high back in February of 2021. And it's got a high short position as well.
Okay, you got the gainers, Carol. I was watching the decliners today, starting with Nvidia down 3.4% today. This as Jensen Huang spoke at the company's GTC conference, which he referred to as the Super Bowl of AI. We got a lot of news today. Nvidia unveiled plans for more powerful chips, an AI model for robotics, and personal AI supercomputers. And this event is just getting started. We watch this event closely for a few reasons, because we learn a lot about what Nvidia's plans are for this year and next year, but also because it tends to move the company's stock. It's a different movement today, though, than what we saw over the past 2 years, when GTC has gone on. The stock gained 0.7% on the first day in both 2024 and 2023. Gains extended to 4% and 5% respectively by the time the conference concluded later in the week. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens later in this
Tim,
week at Nvidia GTC.
That was a very impressive summary of everything that happened in Nvidia, because Alex and I were looking at the headlines earlier, and a lot of it was just like tech jargon that we totally didn't understand. There's something with Newton. There's a lot of complicated jargon in there.
There were words.
You're in good company. Lynn Duan came on our program during the 2 o'clock hour, and she was like, I don't even know what this means. So
good. Okay, great.
You're in good company. All you need to know is it's about physical AI. So we're going to have these robotic butlers.
Thank you. Okay,
doing
physical
all our work
AI.
for us. That's what I need. Hey, I think Scarlett, you mentioned, was it Scarlett or Alex who mentioned Meta Platforms today falling into negative territory for the year, down 3.7% on the day. It's become the last of the so-called Mag 7 stocks to go negative for the year, down 0.5% on the year so far. It's interesting because we saw earlier this year that record rally for Meta Platforms, unprecedented 20 straight sessions of gains. The stock climbed nearly 26% so far this year, but it's since erased all of those gains. And finally, Abbott Labs fell by 1% today. It makes Similac infant formula. It was down over 2%, but it bounced off its lows a little later in the session. This is, we learned that HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is planning to meet with execs of U.S. infant formula companies to discuss nutritional standards and supply chain issues. So we'll watch that one as well.
All right, got to be honest, guys, nothing happened in the bond market. There was a 20-year auction. It was solid, $13 billion. It was 20-year. Does anyone really care? Kind of going nowhere. Not a lot of volatility, not a lot of movement, which was surprising and interesting considering the sell-off that we saw in tech, but definitely a wait and see when it comes for the Fed tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're just kind of waiting, right, for that Fed decision or lack thereof, but at least what we get in terms of outlook. Hey, guys, in terms of what caught our attention, there is a redesign. Tim talked about this first-class cabin called Le Premier. It's from Air France.
Le Premier, of course.
I know, of course, right? It's supposed to be like a private jet-like experience. 3.5 square meters of private space, a full-length bed. You've got full curtains, and I think there's some nice wine. And I think it costs about, what is it, Tim, like $11,000 US?
Yeah, $10,000 or $11,000 for a
one-way
trip.
Round trip.
I think that's a one-way, actually.
Oh, 10,000 euros, excuse me.
A return flight to New York costs about 10,000 euro, and that's about 11,000 US. Compared with yeah.
But is this like in addition to the plane that has business class? Like, does this make business class cheaper? I'm just asking for a friend.
I think business class is not going to be as nice as this redesigned first class cabin.
Business class.
I mean, it's basically your own cabin here. There's a real bed that you can sleep in. It's pretty great. The executives who unveiled this, they talked about that they weren't seeing any sort of softness when it comes to the high end of spend, when it comes to the travel category. There's a quote in here. The CEO said, Paris is still the #1 destination people come to for many, many reasons. It's crazy what people are willing to spend.
Well, when the consumer is under pressure, you double down on the guy who can spend a lot of money.
100%.
I feel like I need to take on like 6 or 7 extra jobs to be able to afford that flight.
You do. This would be true.
So there's a story that caught my eye, which is about a Gen Xer who plans to earn $800,000 this year. Still probably not enough to be able to take that flight. By holding on to 6 remote jobs. How does he do that? He hires people to be him, basically. He'll like make the decision, he'll show up on the conference call, but otherwise he hires other people to do a lot of the work.
Wait, so is $800,000 like net or gross?
I think that's gross, and he netted $320,000 in profit from this whole like gig.
Couldn't you just get a job for $320,000?
So he takes on the job and then he hires people to do it. And so he's obviously going to pay them less.
He takes on several jobs, 6 jobs, and then he hires other people to do parts of those jobs. And that way he thinks it provides him job security, because if he gets let go from one of those companies, it's okay. He has 5 other jobs. So he's in good shape.
There's something very weird with this business model.
I would not want to be his accountant.
Yeah,
sounds like,
that's a good point.
Sounds like it could all come crashing down very, very
quickly.
Well, yeah,
but like with like 4 of those companies saying, come back to work, get into the office, right?
Or like, what if they find out? Like, is that bad?
Yeah, that would be bad.
Okay.
Yeah,
is he identified in the story?
No.
Wait, Harrison?
Yeah, that's a pseudonym.
Harrison.
Yeah.
Oh, Harrison.
Yeah.
We see you.
I know some Harrisons out there.
I know. I think we all know a Harrison. Probably not him. All right, guys. That's a wrap. Tuesday's over.
Harrison Ford.
You know what? I actually think he's
It's a
doing
Gen
okay.
Xer. It's a Gen Xer.
There you go.
Thank you. Good point.
All right, that's a wrap. Our cross-platform coverage, radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals, we call it The Closing Bell. We'll see you again, same time, same place tomorrow.